Welcome along once again to the Cardiff City phone-in. Actually, there was a game on the weekend. Mark and David are with us tonight. Ed might be joining us in a bit. The game on the weekend, Mark, reminded me in its kind of grimness and futile nature of that fabulous last game at Ninian against Ipswich.
Oh yeah.
It was just horrible, wasn't
It was. I don't know. It was like surreal. It was like you could hear the Middlesbrough fans singing.
Yeah.
You could hear just quiet everywhere else, and it was like nobody really expected anything of Cardiff, and it was great to see the youngsters. Don't get me wrong, but it was a foregone conclusion, wasn't it? Really, it was depressing. I thought they did quite well in matches,
Yeah.
but it was depressing. It was to finish a home season like that.
Yeah, what a damn squib, wasn't it? It was freezing cold, it just wasn't happening. I know David will have a lot to say about it in a second, but Mark, just for now, look, it's funny looking at the stats actually. I mean, we did get battered, we got you can't really argue, 4-1. I think you probably lost, But I mean, people have said maybe the scoreline maybe flatters Middlesbrough, because it seemed like every time they came forward, they battered it into the back of the net. It was just like every time they came forward, they looked like they were going to score.
Well, if David Turnbull had scored his
his worldy,
and if Gutas had scored his when he hit the post. It might have been a different game. We had a couple of chances, but we lost the game in like 11 minutes. Let's be honest. The midfield switched off. It was ball over the top or bypass totally. It's been the same story all season, and it's been the same story where we can get the ball up the other end of the pitch, but then we've got no final product. I mean, Jesus is a waste of time. Let's be honest. He's just. I don't like him at all. But
he was really poor, wasn't he? He was really
in his defence. I can say in his defence to a point, but I can remember one point in the game where Tanner put a cross in, and Jesus was basically standing next to him, where he should have been in the box. But we don't supply the striker with. He's a target man type striker. We don't supply the target man type striker with the service anyway. Josh Bowler's doing his cutting inside thing, and it's the same story. It's the same. We could have been here 3-4 weeks ago talking about the same thing, just against different opposition. We like a striker, and I think that he was a gamble in January because we had to get somebody, and he's just not got it. He's not at this level. He's not good enough.
So David, were you covering the game on the weekend, or were you just there just to enjoy the match?
I was there to enjoy the match, to use your journalistic license.
Yeah.
We could have Toshak and Clark up front in this team, and we still would be no better because nobody's given them the bullets. Nobody is creating any chances. We've missed Ramsey like a hole in the head, but you're right what you said, Steve. I mean, we were just sitting down there chatting about where we'd all go on holidays and this sort of thing. And
yeah.
Oh no, I looked at the clock and I said, "Guys, it's 43 minutes gone. How did that happen?"
Yeah.
Usually it's a long, slow, painful death, but the first half seemed to go quite quickly, and then Middlesbrough scored.
Terrible goal.
We assumed he scored. I thought the referee was quite poor in signalling what had happened. It wasn't an obvious goal from where I was sat in. I sit in sort of about the middle of the Ninian stand, and there was some uncertainty as to whether it had crossed the line, for example. I mean, having watched the replays, it was a clear goal, but it just wasn't clear. And then they scored another goal, which was preventable. One bloke sort of, I wouldn't say he dribbled between defenders, but it's a bit like when you're playing 3-in when you're kids and there's 6 of you and you've all got to score in the same goal past the kid who's been in goals. And it reminded me of that. And then all of a sudden we were 2-0 down. And like you said, the game was kind of over almost before it felt like it had really started.
Yeah.
I mean, they scored two good goals with 2 good strikes. But when you say it reminded
Yeah,
you
they
of
were good finishers.
Yeah. When you say it reminded you of that Ipswich game, it reminded me more of some of those dark days when we were in the 4th division.
Is that
When
even worse? I can't work out whether that's worse.
we were talking about the fanzine movement earlier on, and fanzine
Yeah.
grew in those days.
Yeah.
There was a dark terrace culture that was emerging. At the end of the game, when it was 4-0 down, the Candidate was singing Three Little Birds, Say You Don't Worry, Everything's
Yeah,
Going
yeah,
Well.
yeah.
And everybody was joining in with it in this sort of, in this black display of black humour. And I think they were saying what was it? I think it was Ashford. I couldn't quite hear if Ashford scores we're on the pitch. You know, it was like that sort of fanzine type.
Yeah.
You know, almost Bluebird Jones type humour. But the actual game, as ever, almost irrelevant. Some good performances from the youngsters. That lad, what's his name?
Conte.
Conte.
Yeah.
Where's he been all year? He's
Yeah.
terrific. You know?
Looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks really.
We were hoping to have other guests on tonight, but I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to join us. But I'll go to you first with this, Dave, and then I'll go across to Mark. As Dave Sugarman is a great stato. You know, he comes in with some great stuff. So let's have a look at this one. So he says, relegated Rotherham remain as the only team in the top 5 divisions of English football who are currently on a longer run of league games without a victory by 2 or more goals. It's 33 for them. So so the question is, David, is, you know, I know it's like we're almost like you know, we could, like Mark said, we could be talking about the same things 6 weeks ago because it just hasn't changed. But when you saw that starting lineup, right, and you could see, I was thinking, oh, please don't play Keane on the left, you know, and please don't go for that inverted winger or something like that. But he kind of did. Once you go with that, you know, again, you're back to, I bore the hell out of my daughter when I go down the matches with her, you know, that just, the ball comes forward, but there's like nowhere to go because you're not going to create anything because you got the person on the wrong foot on both wings and no penetration, no pace, no creativity. So, you know, where are the goals going to come from? Isn't it?
Well, there's just a lack of quality throughout the whole team. Tanner has scored one. You know, he's done one good thing. He'll be remembered forever for it. But he's done very little else all season. Bowler, you know, who flatters to deceive, and then a succession of completely interchangeable centre. I use the word loosely. Centre forwards, none of whom have really done anything. Romeo, who I keep calling Max, by the way, you'll get asked, Steve. Romeo, Max Romeo.
Oh yeah,
he's not a right back. He's not anything. I
think he's all right. Actually, I think he's all right. He's not great, but I think he's all right.
I thought Turnbull played well. I thought that was his best show for us. Gutas, I think I would have voted if I had have voted. I think I would have voted for Gutas's Player of the Year. He always puts a shit in. The keeper does well. But you know, I thought Ashford was looking tired on occasions. The Wales Online said the ball bounced off him a few times. I think, you know, he's not a big lad, and he's gone from under 21s to playing against international players with Premier League ambitions. Southampton, for example, could easily be in the Premier League next season, and Middlesbrough only just missed out. So that's a heck of a jump. I thought Colwell looked good when he came on.
Yeah, he did. I thought Joel looked really good.
No.
I've got another stat for you, Mark. All right, to follow up on David from the same source. Okay, Dave Sugarman. Another fun fact, Mark. This is incredible, really. It's been almost 2.5 years since a Cardiff City player scored 2 goals in a championship match.
Right, now that's the next game, isn't it? Let's see if we can work that out. Who would that have been?
What do you think, Mark, on that one?
Well, it's no surprise. I mean, we haven't had a striker since Kiefer Moore, so they've had a succession of awful lone strikers come in, with the exception, I suppose, of Sorry Kaba. We had Hugo, we had various failures even though Ogbo has done well for Sheffield Wednesday, he wasn't great for us.
No.
And now Jeju. We've gone for the same type of striker as well, in being a tall, lanky target man kind of deal, when we don't supply that kind of service to the strikers. I mean, we haven't had the Peter Thorne, Earnshaw kind of dynamic for a long time, which would probably work better in this system than having a lone guy up front on his own. It's not really a surprise, you know. I would gamble on saying maybe it was Kiefer Moore that scored the 2 goals in a game. The last
it may well be right. You may well be right.
Harry Wilson.
It might.
Yeah. Harry got 2. Yeah.
That COVID team, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
But it worries me that we're. I mean, as we're speaking now, there's talks going on to take on Errol Bullitt.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's rubber stamped, I don't know. But we look forward, and we're gonna potentially make the same mistakes again in the transfer policy, which is, rather than buy in players or rely on young players, we're going to bring in loan players, pay high wages. Some of them aren't going to work out, and we're going to just drift through another season. But it doesn't sound. I don't think that Errol Bullitt had a great deal of pull in the January window.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have a great deal of pull going forward either. I think it'll be dependent on finance, yes, but I don't think he. I know he knew Jay from Turkey, but I don't think he would have picked Jay. You know, a panic kind of signing, you know?
Yeah.
My friend who was going to join us on the show this evening, but as Steve said, some family issues arose. Every week he's on call Rob Phillips. In fact, we call the show Call Dave Evans now because he's on there so often. But he's always saying, you know, Bullitt's out, he's rubbish, he should go, etc. But lo and behold, he went to the awards on Saturday, sent me a picture of him in what he called his new best friend, Errol Bullitt, and he said, and I can exclusively reveal that in amongst the banter, it emerged that, and this was Saturday night, I think, it emerged that Bullitt would be offered a new contract, and it'll kind of be resolved by or around the Rotherham game, but that he wanted assurances that some sort of, you know, financial pot would be available for him to, you know, have a proper go next year. And he was also asking, you know, what are the club's ambitions? If you'd have said to me this time, I don't know, last year, that next year we'll finish around about 10th and above Swansea City, I think I would have certainly taken that. Do we want to finish, you know, 10th again next year, or have they got ambitions to make more of a fist of it? I think lots of the big clubs will be out of the division next year. I mean, Derby might make a fist of it, and you know the perennials. I don't know. Bristol City might have a go, but you know Leeds might get out. Leicester to go in. I don't think the clubs that come down will do much. So I think it's going to be much more of a level playing field next year. You know, your West Broms will think, oh, we could do something here, you know?
Yeah.
Bristol City as well, it grieves me to say so, but they've had the same sort of season as us, you know? It was Kiefer Moore with those 2 goals, Dave said.
Yeah, it was. Mark was spot on. Yeah. So, yeah, just, I mean, there's some interesting comments. Kind of going to go to a really interesting comment from Mark Porter Timothy in a second. He's got a really interesting angle on things. But Mark, one of the things which was noticeable for me over the last couple of games, again, you know, I know I bang on about it a lot, but you know, that formation is so predictable and so unexciting. And nothing to get the kind of fans off their seats, apart from for the wrong reason, which we saw on the weekend. Yeah, you know, but playing with that really kind of flat, negative kind of formation, We have got some good results with it, and it was a time we were doing okay. But I just think, my personal thoughts with Errol Bullock, if he's going to stick around, then I'd be interested to see, Mark, what kind of players he does manage to bring in and what kind of financial support he does manage to generate from Vincent Tan. But also, like Dave said earlier, which I totally agree with, you could have the best strikers in the world, if you're not actually getting to the byline and putting the crosses in, because what's his name, our mate Bowler did it a couple of times. He actually used his right foot, I mean, we looked up at half a chance. But if he keeps on doing that, it just doesn't give me the excitement to build on in terms of progression, Mark,
Well, we've had a season of evidence to show that when we have injuries or when we have players unavailable for whatever reason, he doesn't really change the formation that much. He will play out of position to stick to his formation rather than totally flip. I think we played 3 at the back 2 or 3 times, or maybe changed in a game to 3 at the back. But it's very rare that he'll try anything different, especially up the top of the pitch. Now, if you look at the players we've got on contracts, we've got a lot of midfield players on contracts. So, yes, we can argue that we're going to be looking for maybe another creative midfielder. But with the Ramsey situation, with Ramsey coming to the end of his career, all injured, I see it as a hindrance now to not let Ruben Colwell develop as a 10, because Ramsey might or might not be, available to play, etc. And I don't think that Bullett's going to, develop Colwell quick enough if he's got Ramsey, Turnbull, all these people competing for that position. If he's going to push him out wide all the time, I can't see him changing his philosophy in the transfer market. I think he's going to buy players to suit the system he wants to play, and he sets up not to lose games rather than to win games.
Yeah,
and
which is okay away from home, I think, but I don't think it's really on at home.
Let's be honest. With the exception of 1 or 2 performances, our victories have mostly been lucky, and I include Southampton in that, because Southampton should have buried us. Let's be honest. They couldn't take their chances, and they should have buried us.
Yeah.
And we've had lucky breaks, and I think that the early on in the season we were having the results because nobody knew how Errol Bullock was going to set up. Cardiff were an unknown quantity, and we got found out pretty quick. We had a couple of encouraging results against Leicester and Leeds. Maybe we should have done better, but we were playing not too badly. Then we had, from October on, a terrible slump. Awful football, awful results. In between the odd lucky win, there's no. I can't see with the system he's playing that we're going to be a playoff contender next season. Doesn't matter who he like Dave said, we could have Toshak up front, and I don't think he's going to change that philosophy.
He doesn't seem to. But the one thing that's come out of it, David, which I think has been a little bit of a surprise bonus for me, is Ollie Tanner playing the left back. What I've really liked, I think he's done well. I think he's done well in both games. And what I really liked about it is he's got a left foot. He's on the left. That kind of makes sense. And he gets forward and he puts crosses in. And maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe he just needs, the fullbacks to be more wing back orientated. Because Marlon Romeo, for example, is not great at getting forward. Yeah, but maybe he needs that kind of player to push on. And then does that kind of balance out the inverted wingers thing? Because at least the wing backs are keeping it, forward. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
I haven't been massively impressed with Tanner. He's one of those players. I really want to like him. Got a bit of flair, a bit of flamboyance, and he scored that famous goal. But I don't know. He just doesn't seem. He doesn't seem to produce really. Saying about Colwell, ominously, Russell Martin was very impressed with.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Ruben Colwell. You could see that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Especially, more so if they don't go up. that would be a good move for Colwell if he was going to get games in a footballing team like Southampton, or is he going to come here and vie for game time with the likes of Wintle, who's not a bad player, but you can't. There's only so many Wintles, Rawls, and Turnbulls you can play in one team. And
Well,
then
Turnbull's more creative than that, though, isn't he? I mean,
I
he
suppose,
is
yeah.
more of a
He
box-to-box player, isn't he?
He did play well on the weekend. We got Ellie King coming back.
Yeah. Yep.
He's a central midfielder.
Yep. Ebu Adams, they love him at Derby.
Oh, every time I watch, the championship on sort of Sky on a Friday or whatever, it's full of players who used to play for us, and they're all saying,
Mark Harris scoring goals for fun.
He's scoring goals for fun. Okay,
Ugbo kept Sheffield Wednesday in the division.
Yeah, what's the name? Adams at as you said.
Yeah.
Philogene doing it for.
What a player he is, though, isn't he?
I think it's just. I even saw Giles. Can't think of his first name. He played fullback.
Ryan Giles.
Yeah. He came on for
good player.
For Hull, and then you got obviously the likes of Kiefer Moore, the likes of Harry Wilson.
Yeah.
You could put out a decent team of players who are still playing and used to play for us.
So you have to wonder why they used to play for us. Either did we let them go too early, or did they just want to escape?
Well, I remember once ages ago I was listening to Dave Jones, and he was the pundit on the radio commentary from, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday. It doesn't matter where it was, and it was just after his tenure had ended, and he was saying about the players, and he was saying this is why they're championship players. Dave Marshall, for example, good goalie, but his kicking wasn't great. Even Kev McNaughton, great player, Colty, crossing wasn't great. That's why they're playing for Cardiff City. And there was an example earlier this season. I think it was Grant. He was pretty much through on goal. And Nathan Blake, you knew when he was through on goal. You knew he was going to score, and you could sit down and savor the moment. But no, it was more mighty score, and of course he didn't. And we just seem to have loads of players that, bounce across our desk, so to speak, and they never really make much of an impact when they're here. And we're even getting to the stage where we've had managers like that. It's a question of time before we have Steve Bruce, because it'll be his turn soon,
Oh, please. I prefer Ken. David, we'll go on to the manager one here now, because obviously you said that kind of came out during the awards night, which is stunningly in Cardiff City style followed the 4-1 home defeat against Middlesbrough. But
80 could have throw.
And what a battle to get on the top table, But let me show this one to you, Mark. Which is a really good comment from talking about the manager. Before I show the comment, right, I just want to ask the two of you the same thing. Errol Bullitt, for or against? I mean, we can't. Is either going to happen or it isn't going to happen. But in your world, Mark, what's your thoughts on Errol Bullitt?
Against.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see any mileage sticking with what we know, sort of thing.
I think he will be the manager next season.
Okay. But
I've had enough of that style of football now. Maybe I want too much, Steve. I want to watch good football, and I want to watch. I mean, the top scorer for Cardiff City is Perry NG. You know what I'm saying? And two of them are free kicks, I think. So it's at the end of the day, everyone loves to watch football teams that they support score goals and put a shift in and try and be passionate. The only thing that I'm looking forward to, hopefully, is watching all these youngsters, and I'm hoping that Isaac Davis comes back and he gets a run. I'm hoping that Eli King comes back and he gets a run.
Yeah, be nice.
That if that happens, that will be stimulating enough for me. But to watch Siopis running around like a headless chicken and giving 3 or 4 great passes and then giving the ball away. And, to watch new loanees coming in like we've had over the season that are disappointing, but are on thousands of pounds a week. It's I don't want to have that feeling of we're going to get thumped today that often. You always have it when you play a top team, but I don't want to watch Cardiff City and I mean I grew up watching Cardiff City thinking we're going to get thumped today quite a lot. I just in a fantasy world I would like a better manager with a more attack-minded philosophy and to play football.
So I'll lead into David off the back of that. I mean, just nodding towards the other CCFC and their performance, in the cup the other week, David, when they played really lovely football, and I think, we try to play lovely football, lovely modern football, particularly playing from the back. It always looks a bit kind of grim and sideways and not quite happening. So maybe new players will change that. But before I put this comment on the screen, where are you on Errol Bullock yourself?
Well, whether he should stay or whether he will be out.
Yeah, what's your kind of thoughts on, because we're really right at the end of the season now.
Well, it's hard to argue that we should get rid of him because it's been our best finish for some time. We've had more success in derbies than we've had for some time. So on paper, what more he would say, well, what else could I have done under the circumstances? But as Mark said, some of the football, it's been like watching paint dry. It's been so dire. Outside of a handful of occasions, I can't remember the last time I was really excited.
Well, Ipswich and Southampton, but like Mark said, because of surprise.
Ipswich game, Southampton, Swansea, obviously.
Yeah.
Even these away victories where we've ground out a 1-0. Saying about Perry NG as our top scorer, I haven't looked this up, but I think our second top scorer is own goals.
Yeah, he's had a good season.
Yeah,
you can score with either foot as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. In fact, I think there was one game I went to, and our last 3 goals had all been our own goals.
Yeah.
We'd had no shots and scored 2 goals in one game.
Well, we're going to finish in the top half, so like Mark said, I suppose. So it is in a way kind of progress.
If we'd have needed to beat or get a result against Middlesbrough, you wouldn't have seen any of those youngsters, however many injuries we have had, But, that's what the end of the season is about, really, isn't it? You play these things. I just wonder how many of them and will get a feature, and also if he plays them in the right position. Oliver Denham, I'm not quite sure.
He's at Sligo, isn't he?
He's a good player, I thought.
Yeah. Well, our Irish scout has been keeping an eye on him, and he's blown hot and cold, but he's not playing at a great level. They got done by Drogheda 3-1, I think, the other night.
Who's the fullback we had?
Reagan.
Yeah.
Oh, Joel Bagan. Yeah, I'd love to see Joel Bagan back. Let me go to this comment then, David, because we were talking about, what seems to be in the public domain now that talks have begun. And this is a lovely angle from Mark, really. Very Cardiff City, very sleuth, I have to ask myself, is this another ruse from Tan to say we offered talks and Bullock turned us down? Another kind of marketing exercise. Surely we wouldn't be that callous, would we?
Do you expect me to get promoted, Mr. Tan? I expect you to die, Mr. Bullock. It's a bit like that. Yeah. I think Bullock has got more sort of balls to him than some of the other managers. I think he could say, look, don't jerk me around here.
Well, that is a problem, though, isn't it? I think that is a problem. If you have a character and you have strong opinions, I'm not so sure how well that goes down. With Vincent.
That's why we'll never get Bellamy as a manager because I mean, we've had people who have been terrible. Mark Hudson, a dreadful appointment. And we had someone else on loan. Oh, I don't know. We've just had so many as Ian Walsh on repeat really well, he said, "Stop go managers. There's no strategy." Now I know everybody wants to, have a strategy and play attacking football, but nobody wants to go down either. It's just been so grim.
So the point's been raised there, Mark, as well, about the strikers. There have been games where we literally can't finish. Actually, interestingly, on the weekend, we could have buried teams. Birmingham, by the way, I want to talk about Birmingham later on. Wow, they're right on the throes of maybe going down. Which is quite incredible, really. Atete couldn't finish. Same with plenty of others, just missing a number 9. The lack of a striker. Maybe that's what it's about with Errol, with Vincent Tan. If we're going to sign a striker, let's face it, you're not going to get a goal scorer and championship striker for NAF all, are you? We're going to have to spend some money, and it's really important that we get the right player or players in, isn't it?
Yeah, but I can't really agree with that comment, because the strikers got to have service somehow. So we've got our main wingers this season were Carlon Grant and Bowler, and we weren't scoring. They weren't providing a striker with any chances to score goals. They were cutting inside because they were told to do that through the coaching, or it's their natural inclination to do so. I think that if you look at what we're going to need for next season and the budget that we might have, unless we are going to blood some youngsters, or we're going to put some faith in some of the current players that we've got, which haven't been performing that well, we're going to need wingers as well as a striker. We're going to need central defensive. We're going to need fullbacks. So, I can understand to a point in using the loan market, but I don't think we bought a striker since Keeper Moore, really.
How much was he? He wasn't that expensive, was he? I don't think.
I think it was 2 million or something like that.
Yeah. It turned out to be a bargain, but we weren't to know that.
But
what's your opinion of Carlon Grant? Because Bullet seems to really rate him, but I don't know. Once or twice he's caught my eye. I think he's a confidence player, but on the whole, he's just another championship player,
Well, he's one of those ones, David and Mark, which we'll maybe talk about that now, because that's an interesting point as well. Because I wasn't at the Player of the Year award, the other night. I didn't. My Dickie Bow was in the wash, I couldn't quite make it. But apparently players were talked to, current players on loan, Phillips, Bowler, Grant, these kind of people, about would they come back next week? How meaningful that is, over a beer and awards night, I don't know. But apparently there seems to be indications they would like to stay. So it makes me wonder which of them, if any, would we like to stay if it was a thing.
Well, Phillips, I think, has been...
I like Phillips, yeah.
He's been one of our better... central defenders. We're fairly well blessed.
Oh, McGuinness is coming back, of course.
Yeah, so there's a good little trio there. And Grant... and I tell you who else is another meh, is Robinson. It's just too many players, and you think, when the team is announced, I look at the lineup, and if Ruben Cole isn't playing, I just lose interest, because he's
we missed him. We missed him like crazy on the weekend, I thought.
Yeah, he's the only one that makes me think, go on, In fact, there's a guy that sits behind me. He says, don't give it to him. He's one of the good ones. He says, But he's a good player. I can see him going though.
So you wouldn't keep Grant then, David? No, by the sound of it.
Well, he just doesn't inspire me.
I
mean, but it's whether we replace another like for like. I mean, I saw somebody linking us on, I think, the message boards with Sorba Thomas at Huddersfield.
Yeah, well, they've gone down now. Yeah, so pretty well. Yeah.
There was a time when he was sort of flavour of the month, but if he wasn't Welsh, I don't think we'd have noticed him. I don't know what he's done this season. Even James Collins scored for Derby the other day. Did you notice that?
He's got 18 goals this season.
14 league goals, yeah. He's Derby's top scorer, and the second top scorer is Mendes Lang.
He's got about 15, isn't he?
Yeah.
Isaac Davis has got a good number.
Yeah, Isaac Davis has gone great. Mark, talking about strikers, right? So Jeju, it's such a shame because it was, when he first came, the idea of singing Jeju, to the tune of Hey Jude excited me. That's going to be great. We've only needed it on 2 occasions, and even then we didn't bother, right? But like last week against Southampton, what I really liked about him, he came on, he went flying into a challenge, he got us a corner. Wasn't long after that he scored, and he was like enticing the crowd and building them up, and he looked up for it, but he looked anything but on the weekend. And I wonder, Mark, if it's anything to do with the fact, Mate, yet another one out injured. There was nothing on the bench really. Robinson was the only option. There was nothing on the bench threatening him, and every time the ball went near him, he just seemed to fall over. That seemed to be his go-to trick.
He's. I wasn't full of hope when he was signed. I thought, kind of a panic. We need a striker. This guy's available. We'll have to give him a go, kind of signing. And it's just a waste of time. I mean, it's a waste of time. I mean, but you can also question again. You look at Ugbo. He scored 4 goals for us. Then he became a little inconsistent, so he sent back, and then he goes and scores 8 or 10 goals for Sheffield Wednesday, and where he's getting more service. So whether Jeju is a good or bad player, I mean, you can't really tell in the system we play anyway, can you? I don't think if Kiefer Moore had come in, I don't think Kiefer Moore would have scored that many goals for us. It's you need your front man to take us up the pitch, not just be up the top of the pitch, and wait for the ball to get to him and be out of the game. Otherwise, I mean, it's like we're playing with 10 men.
So Kiefer Moore was very good at holding up the ball, Mark, as well, wasn't he? And bringing
he was.
Play.
I mean, what I was excited about when they were talking about signing him was his links with playing with Ramsey. I thought because they've had a chemistry with Wales. It might work well, but obviously Ramsey's injured constantly, and we didn't get him. But there's no number 10 that's linking with the striker. There's no link there. So we've got no pivot in that no anchor, no controller in the middle there. The number 10 who's directing the play. There's just nothing going on. It's each play that goes forward. It's because the ball just happened to go forward. It isn't because we kind of made it happen. It's because that's just the way the game was flowing. There's no guy that's controlling it for us in the middle at all. There's disruptors. We've got Siopis and we've got Rawls that are disrupting the opponent's game, but we don't have a real strong creative presence. So therefore, you put a striker up front. It doesn't matter who it is. Unless they are a bit more of a playing deep and going forward with the ball themselves kind of striker, then they're just surplus,
So the only way it can change, Mark, is from my point of view, when somebody's having Mark Brown's having a pop at David there for having the audacity to criticise Super Cameron Norton.
He's having the pop at Dave Jones. I'm merely the reporter who nugget on.
Fair enough. So I just want So my point on that is the only way we're going to look like scoring goals, I think, personally, is to be a bit more diverse with our tactics and to occasionally consider maybe playing 2 up front or having players on the wings who can put the ball in, that kind of thing. And then we look at the players to come back in, which I'll just mention quickly. Then I want to go on to something else. Mark and David, quite interesting, really. Ebu Adams, pretty well player of the season at Derby, carried off shoulder high yesterday. Isaac Davis banging goals in for a below average Belgian side. Joel Bagan, I think, is a real player. Eli King, the kids we got in there at the moment, particularly Kean and Conte, looking great. I thought Joel Colwell looks really, really good. And then we got Alnick at the moment. We got Alnick, NG, Collins, never mind the lone players for the time being. O'Dowda, Atete, Ramsey, Mate, McGuinness, Ruben. this new player Sonoda, this new defender. That's quite a lot of players. That's quite a lot of players to come back in. And I do like the idea of something like Isaac or Kean, because they're pacey, playing off a big man up front. And, there's room there, isn't there, David, to be a bit more expansive and to go for it a bit more, at least at home?
Well, when you said those names there, I thought, yeah, that's not a bad squad. But
it's not bad, is it?
You only need sort of, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 of those players to be not available.
Yeah, they're significant misses, aren't they?
The significant misses. I mean, of those ones you said, O'Dowda has barely played, Ramsey has barely played.
Yeah.
The others haven't been there. And will he give, I don't know, Isaac Davis his head? I hope so, but I don't know that he's that kind of guy.
Or flog him.
I was at the Welsh Cup final yesterday, and there's a guy up front for Connor's Key Nomads, and he was doing all the things that we've been saying about. He wasn't a big burly target man. He was quite waspish. His name was Franklin. He scored the first goal. He held the ball up. He brought players in. He played in that sort of number 10 role, and he played in that sort of difficult to mark area, sort of Matt Le Tissier zone,
Oh yeah.
Just on the edge of the penalty area. You can't come out to him because you leave gaps. So we can't leave him because he was skillful. He was a real. I'm not suggesting we should, sign him. That'll be a bit of a jump, but he was a real pleasure to watch. And they just had those players, and he brought the other players in. It was a very good game, that, by the way. Connors Key won 2-1. Really enjoyable. So there you are.
Who did they beat?
TNS.
Oh, right. Okay. So a bit of a shock, yeah.
TNS never lose. That would be like anybody beating Man City.
Fair enough.
It's really good, yeah.
We should mention that it looks like, if Leicester, are they already guaranteed champions, or do they need a result tonight in their game?
They need a point, I think, don't they?
So the talking point there is, to me, it's incredible. I mean, we can't get through a Cardiff City final, surely, without talking about our mates in Leeds, can we?
I can't decide if I want Leeds to go up or not. Part of me thinks if they go up, and if Ipswich go up, that's 7 extra Welsh internationals in the Premier League. That's good for them.
That's way too objective, that is.
I know, because wanting Leeds to do well does not come easily to a Cardiff City fan, I have to say.
Yeah.
The only thing is, if they don't go up, they'll be a force next year. But if they don't go up, they'll bring 3,000 or 4,000 fans, so they'll be, they'll be good for our crowd and our atmosphere and the gate receipts. Ditto Birmingham City. Peterborough are not going to bring, 4,000 fans, are they? So I decide whether I want Leeds to go up. So in the end, as ever, I listened to the heart and said, no, I might go to Leeds next year. I think it'll be. I think Ipswich will. They've got so many games left. I think they've got to get over the line, and that would sort of disappoint me, because I don't know if they don't go up, would be in with a shout of Kiefer Moore again. But what a fantastic
achievement for Ipswich, though, isn't it? What an amazing achievement! Two straight promotions, and they've just kept on going. I didn't think they would. They just kept on going, and Leeds have blown it again, isn't it?
We could have Leeds versus not Leeds. It's unlikely, I think, but we could have Ipswich versus Norwich in the On that topic, next year we could have Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday, Cardiff versus Swansea, Cardiff versus Bristol, Portsmouth versus Southampton, Birmingham versus West Brom. There could be a lot of really tasty, interesting, derby clashes next year, which will make it, interesting and nothing else.
Yeah, there's plenty to look forward to. I wanted to, because we're only here because we love football. We love Cardiff City, but we also love football. So that kind of thing is, local derbies are great, I think. Perry NG. So Perry NG, Mark, he's got Player of the Season two seasons in a row. We're missing him like crazy. He's so versatile. He's a standout player. A friend came over for the weekend. Jeff Delacruz came over from Ireland. And in his opinion, he thinks it's extremely likely that if anyone goes, it'll be him. And if we look at the fact that Everton have just, saved themselves in the Premiership, they've got a 36-year-old right back at the moment. Would it surprise you if Perry was to move on for a few bob over the summer, Mark?
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a great player, Championship level. I'm not sure whether he's a Premier League player quite yet. Maybe the lower end of the Premier League. I think it will be a promoted team that goes for him rather than a resurgent Everton. I think it'll be one of the teams that goes up. But yeah, he's. I mean, Marlon Romeo looked out of his depth on the weekend. He tried the best he could try, but Perry NG. I don't think that the first goal would have gone if Perry NG had been playing for sure. But I mean, they talk about Mark McGuinness going as well. So not only have we got the potential to watch bullet ball again next season, but we may be out two of our best defenders and be in the market for either blooding a youngster or spending money on two decent defenders too. So it's all up in the air at the moment. But what I don't like about that kind of press is sometimes that is making people aware that there's an intention to sell rather than there being interest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they put it out there in the media that these two players are valuable assets and they could be available. And
so, can I put it a different way, Mark? Right? Put it a different way. If we don't have, for whatever reason, the wherewithal to spend significant sums, and then becomes a case of bringing some cash in order to get different players, if Perry NG was to leave the club, for a few mil or Ruben or something like this, and it allowed us to bring in other players, is that a price that we need to consider that we have to pay?
Well, my opinion would be if I was the manager, if I was Bullet sitting down today, I said I need to be able to be guaranteed this kind of thing for my transfer philosophy for next season. And then I was told, look, you're going to lose your prized right back and you're going to lose your prized defender, but you'll be able to use the money to buy other players. I wouldn't be too pleased with that because there's plenty of money that we need for whatever we need at the moment. I mean, the loans are going to cost us thousands of pounds a week as it is, and we're going to have to dip into the loan market again next season. There's no way we can afford to rebuild the whole team again. So we're going to, I mean, what's Nat Phillips on? He must be on 60 grand a week or something stupid like that.
Well, he came up earlier in one of the comments, Mark. I don't know whether I shared it, but they were saying that, he's got to be worth a few million because I think he's got another year to go at Liverpool. Apparently, I read in the press that he's not on a massive, insane salary, and he seems to like it here. But how realistic that is, I don't know.
He's not going to be free, is he?
No.
I think that it can be said, yes, it's a benefit to the club to sell your prize assets and invest in a team. But it can also be said that perhaps if we didn't have so many court cases going on that are running into millions in legal fees, we can invest that money in the team as well.
Well, that's a big comment because I don't want to go into this greatly, David, but that is still kind of hanging over us, isn't it? In lots of ways, not just financially, in lots of ways. And the sooner we can, I think we can resolve that issue and move on, I think the better for all concerned.
Well, some time ago, there were three issues that were overhanging us, weren't there? There was the Emilio Salah issue. There was the naming rights, not the naming rights, but whether we owed Salaman any money. And something else. I think it was.
And former managers who were still paying, probably.
Pardon?
Former managers who were still playing. There's got to be a couple of those.
There was the transfer embargo.
Yeah.
But Perry NG sums up my life as a Cardiff City fan. I like him. I like his enthusiasm. if I was ever, if I was ever good enough to play for Cardiff City, that's the kind of player I would like to have been. I was Jason Perry without the pace. That's the kind of, guy I like to be. But I think Perry NG is one of the few players I would recognise in the street if I saw him out of context. Ramsey, possibly Ruben Colwell.
Yeah.
I saw someone at the gym the other day. I knew he played for us. He had the kit on. He was big and he was tall. I knew he was one of our strikers. I couldn't tell you which one he was, and that it just goes to the identity of the club. That's what I suppose I'm trying to say. Someone like NG sums up and epitomises the identity of the club, and that's why people like players like him. I suppose you might recognise Tanner because he's distinctive, but Joe Rawls, he's been a good servant, but it's an interesting test to apply. Which ones you'd recognise out of context because of the, what they've brought to the club. I just do find some players with our most saleable asset, I would say, is probably Ruben Colwell. And if someone said, "Well, buy one get one free," and they took Joel as well, you could imagine that being attractive for a season next year in Southampton or somewhere. Will NG go to Everton? I think that would be a bit of a jump. Maybe in Ipswich or something.
Ipswich would love him. I'm sure Ipswich would love him if and when they go up, which they should now. Great comment here, by the way, from Andrew Turton. We were talking about fanzines earlier. So Andrew Turton comes in with NG stands for nearly God. So there you go. Thanks for that. That should be that.
Is NG half the player Sang was?
Oh, come on.
Journalist, Steve. I'm a journalist.
Yeah. Just a few minutes to go. Got a few things to get through. Robert Flynn just renewed my season ticket. Always blue, 66 to the present day. Flynn family from Merthyr. All of us just hope it's not boring again. Looking to next season. Vardy would have scored playing for City. No crosses, no goals, which large part of the argument. Thanks for saying nice things about the show. And let's go for it again next season and see how we push on. At the beginning of this season, Mark, I think I mentioned it right at the beginning of the season. Actually, I was in Kefalonia on holiday last year, and I went into this bar in this little place, this little seaside resort, a place called Lordas, who anyone knows Kefalonia, and it was quite a nice restaurant. I couldn't afford to eat there. I just went there for a drink, Anyway, went in there, and there was this lad, and I said hello to him on the way in, and he talked to me, and I noticed he had, his accent. I said, "Where are you from then?" He said, "I'll take a guess." I said, "I'll go with West Wales, yeah." And it turned out he was from, I think, Cardiganshire or something like this. He's a Swansea fan, and we had a conversation, and he said, "Oh, I won't do the accent now," but he said, "Where do you think Cardiff will finish this season?" And I said, "Probably top 10. And he laughed at me. But if we beat Rotherham, we might end up there. It's not really, if that's the case, like David said earlier, Mark, if we'd been offered that at the start of the season, I'll be honest, I would have taken that. It would have been really good progress.
It warms my heart to see us. Currently, 5 points above Swansea?
There's still a few points, yeah.
I think the key words in that sentence, Steve. If we beat Rotherham, I mean, really, if we beat Rotherham.
I mean, we should, but it's unpredictable. I mean, we've got loads of players missing still, remember. We've got to remember haven't we? And great as the kids are, and Rotherham, there's nothing on it for them, obviously, and there's nothing on it for us, so let's see how that goes. But Mark, I'll ask you a similar question. Sorry, David, just to ask Mark, and I'll ask you the same one. So, and this is a really tricky question, but so I said to the Swansea fan, I reckon we finish top 10. I'm going to say we're going to finish top 10 again next year, hopefully a bit higher, but I don't think we'll finish any lower. Yeah. So what's your thoughts? I know it was all up in the air, the manager, the players spending money and everything else. Maybe a better way of putting it. What would you accept? What would you think would be, what's the least you'd like to see, Mark, for next season?
Wow. I wish I had a crystal ball, Steve. I guess this is. I can only be hypothetical, can't I? I honestly think it all depends on the transfer budget and the players we bring in. And I think that we're going to struggle. I think Bullet, I don't think he'll last the season. That's what I honestly think.
Okay.
That's I know that sounds negative, but I don't think that Bullet has got what it takes to get us anywhere further than he has now. And unless he gets some exceptional players in and we score a lot more goals, we're going to struggle.
Okay. David?
I'd just like to look forward to going to games again for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's a good line.
If that's because we've got Ruben Caldwell who's pulling the strings, or some young Kean Ashford who's scoring goals, or we're looking at the playoffs. At the moment, it feels like a chore. You know, when you wake up on a Monday and go to work again, that's what it feels like. It feels like a chore.
Yeah.
Am I going to park? Where am I going? Oh, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. It's too cold. Really? I just hope. I just like it to be a positive experience again. It's supposed to be my leisure. It's that thing I do, to escape, the rest of it. And it's not. It doesn't feel like that. And in all seriousness, it hasn't felt like that for some time. Even when we're in the Premier League, there's only so much joy you can get out of watching Man City completely dominate you, and any other team you can think of. I just want to enjoy the experience again for whatever reason.
So I suppose, Mark, right, to try, because we're often accused on the show of being negative, but if you were there on the weekend, it's difficult. I mean, actually, Mickey Villan made a point, because the point was made to me outside the ground on the weekend that, we did have our chances. We could have scored goals, and pretty well everything they hit the back of the net, which I don't know what that says about the keeper or the defense. I don't know, but and actually we had more shots. We had 15 shots to 12, amazingly, on the weekend. But I suppose the thing, going back to what David said about something to look forward to, I look forward to the game on the weekend because of Southampton was so great. I thought, brilliant. I loved seeing the young players, and I really wanted Joel Caldwell to get on. And it's those young players and their passion and love of Cardiff City and giving it a go, which excites me. And we got to achieve with them, but that's exciting, isn't it? We got those players coming through.
Yeah, I'm not going. I know I made. It sounds like I'm all doom and gloom. No, I don't think. I've wanted to see the young players 10, 15 games ago.
Yeah,
I think they'd be playing if there was not this amount of injuries. I don't think he would even give them a run out if we were, 2-3-0 up in some games. He might bring one of them on. I just think that I haven't got much hope for the current style of football to get us anywhere unless there is investment in the playing squad to the point where individuals win us games rather than tactics. I don't think that that this particular manager has positivity about him. So I'm kind of picking up on the negativity of the manager and his tactics rather than my own negativity, because I've seen it over and over again this season where his tactics are to contain or to not lose rather than to win. And the recipe for success is to win. So we haven't been scoring goals for several seasons, and I can't see that changing unless there's investment in the team. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely love seeing the youngsters on the pitch. I mean, I watched the game twice over on Cardiff City TV because I wanted to look at Joel Caldwell's performance a bit better, and I got a buzz every time one of them touched the ball. But I just hope that Bullet sees that and uses them on a regular basis, because if you're talking about selling a player, if someone like Conte comes through as being a really speedy,
he looks good, doesn't he?
or a right back, I mean, we could get multi-millions for him, not just Perry NG. We might get 3 to 5, but he made probably less. Conte, we could get 8 to 10. You know what I mean? But
so that's a really good point, actually, because we only need one of those players really to prove the development thing works and sell them on. And then that's kind of how football at our level runs, doesn't it?
Well, you forget that we have sold a couple of young players. We sold that BN Chieri or whatever his name was. We sold him to Man United for, I think it was $500,000. And there's another one going from the academy for hundreds of thousands, So we are making money from our academy to some degree, but we also want the academy to benefit the team. And even Ruben Colwell is not being guaranteed a starting place. Let's be honest. It's as good as he's been. He's not guaranteed a starting place, and it seems to be this thing where Bullet would the players would play well. Doesn't matter if they're youngsters or not. They play well one week and be on the bench the next week, and it's like you don't know what's going on. It's.
So we don't know what's going on because it's Cardiff City, just to say,
yeah.
So, but it's also 1 minute past 7, so we're slightly overrunning, and there's a huge match on the weekend. It's Rotherham away, so we have to go around on that one. I mean, is the bigger question: are you going to go as a pantomime horse or dressed as an owl, or is it how are we going to get on against Rotherham at the weekend? That's open to question. David, I hope that some of those kids get a start on the weekend, and we go for it and go out with a bit of fun and show we can some promise for next season. But what's your prediction for Sunday, 12:30?
Rain.
Yep, quite likely.
I think 1-0 Cardiff City.
Okay, stunning Keane Ashford screamer maybe.
I think the youngsters will. I hope they're given their head, because I know Rotherham have got nothing to play for, but it's different, coming on for 5 minutes or 10 minutes when in your home arena, to go in somewhere where they don't all love you, and that'll be good. It's not exactly Millwall, but it'll be a good experience to put them out on the pitch in that kind of environment. With flat cap Yorkshiremen who don't like these bloody taffies, and who's that bloody kid up one wing? I hope that, and I think some of them will thrive in that in that environment.
I'm going to go with the flat cap analogy. I'm guessing there'd be a pie in one hand and a whippet in the other, but we'll that can go lots of ways. Mark, what do you predict for the weekend?
Well, I'm going to end the show on positivity. I think it's going to be 4-0. I think we're going to get Ashford and Ruben, if he's fit, will combine, and I think all the other youngsters are going to contribute assists. That's what I think, Steve. Oh, Jeju's going to prove me wrong and score
a hat trick.
I think own goals will score 2.
Well, we'll soon find out. And thanks again for being on the show. Cheers, guys. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.